Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Strategic Command, World War II, World at War. It is November of 1946. There are 6 turns left in the game. We are coming down to the end days of World War II, or at least as far as this game and how it models it. We just took Tokyo in our last episode. At the very end of the last episode, we took both hexes in Tokyo, and so the hope is that that would prompt Japan to surrender. But it likely will not. Japan is going to relocate its capital to Seoul. The good news is we have Seoul surrounded, and so we will likely take Seoul probably within 2 to 3 turns before the game ends, and hopefully that will trigger Japan to surrender and for the war to end. I do have some troops which will likely end up there next turn. The 2nd Corps and the 3rd Corps, both currently off the coast of Japan, will relocate to Seoul next turn to increase our pressure on the city so that we can overwhelm it. I may also throw some of these armored units on transports and get them out there as well. And we've already got a headquarter unit here, which will hopefully bring additional supplies in the next few turns to these guys here so that they can increase the pressure on Seoul as well. With that being said, I also do have some additional transports that are coming across the ocean, some additional corps of U.S. troops, 3 corps here near the Marianas, and then we have an additional corps near the Hawaiian Islands. Actually, it's an armored heavy unit, and then I think that might be about it coming across the oceans. Now, they're not going to be super important for Japan, or Germany, sorry, the island of Japan, the islands of Japan, but they will be important potentially in trying to save India. India is under great pressure from German forces invading through Iran. And so we're likely going to lose Karachi. That's not a vital blow or a vital defensive point, but it is a nice place to defend from because it's the only supply center that the Axis would have in Western India. So the closest supply center they have is like all the way back up here. So they can use headquarters to string supply out this way, which I think they probably have been doing. As we've seen, their supply situation is no longer quite as bad as it was before. But as soon as they take Karachi, that supply situation will likely get better. So we really want to do what we can to hold Karachi, because once their supply situation gets better, they will overrun India very quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and send reinforcements that way. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send the garrison at Delhi. I'm going to operate it in to the west, or actually north of Karachi here, just to the west of this RAF tactical air unit. I'm also going to go ahead and operate this anti-aircraft unit back to Delhi. I know that may not be the best thing to do, but it does shorten our lines there. The hope is that the Japanese all surrender before these troops in western, or I guess eastern Burma and western China are able to push too far into eastern India, so we can redeploy some of these British forces the other direction. Meanwhile, I've already got some other troops on the way. The 9th U.S. Corps is on the way as well. And that's kind of about it. I am going to take one. I've also got the 11th U.S. Army, the 1st U.S. Heavy Artillery, and General Omar Bradley's headquarter unit, all transiting from Sicily to India. They'll probably arrive in Bombay next turn. I will also look to send the 1st Belgian Congo garrison in Tunisia out that way also to try and increase, just kind of clog up the advance. These are units that will all die very fast to enemy attack, but the hope is that they at least delay the enemy for a period of time so that they can't take India. One other thing that I will do also before the time runs out, one other thing that I'm also going to do is it looks like the British actually have long-range amphibious transports now. I did notice that on some of these units here. Maybe not these. I saw it somewhere. Where are these guys? Somebody has it. Here, long-range amphibious transports for this Special Forces unit. So I'm actually going to consider a likely futile invasion of France to tie the Germans up. So what we're going to do here is we're going to swap some of these units around to get them within range of various ports, so that we can get these guys on long-range transports and begin an invasion of France in the winter. That sounds like a bad idea, but hey, why not? I'll go ahead and prepare these paratroopers so we can get them to France. They'll probably all die real fast, but perhaps it'll prevent Germany from sending more troops to Iran. It may be too late for that, but we'll see. These guys already are kind of by a port, aren't they? Let's undo the set prepare mode for this airborne unit. We're going to move them south. I don't need them for Norway anymore. And then move this guy out here. Move these U.S. Marines. I can't move them. They just got here this turn, right? Okay. And fly this aircraft north here so we can get these headquarters within range of a position to begin landing. So that looks good. Meanwhile, the invasion of Norway is going well. We took Oslo, so Norway is now sort of ours, liberated, if you will. We'll slowly advance some of these U.S. forces north through the difficult terrain toward Trondheim and toward the other major German bases in the north. We're also trying to keep pressure up on the Germans up here. I think we sank a German aircraft carrier this turn near Trondheim with some of our battleships, but there's another German aircraft carrier out here somewhere. So the German fleet is still a presence to be worried about. 19 vessels. A lot of them are subs. We are working on screening some of these subs out of the Atlantic. We've destroyed one U-boat. There's another U-boat here nearly destroyed along the shipping lanes, but there are quite a few German U-boats in the vicinity. We've also been able to get some British motor torpedo boats into the channel, so we can do some scouting on the French coast if we want to try and land on the French coast there. But yeah, we don't have a ton of time. The game ends in 6 turns, so we've already kind of done most of our moves for this turn. One other thing I will do, actually, is we're going to take this AASF tactical bomber unit, and we're going to operate it to India. Again, probably not going to accomplish a whole lot by being here, but it will at least clog up the hexes, if you will, in the Indian front, and maybe die and delay the enemy in doing so. With that being said, let's go ahead and end this turn and see what December has in store for us. U.S. tanks suffering some attrition in Norway due to lack of supply. They only just took Oslo this turn. Allies liberate Norway, so that gets us a little bit of a cheer. Japan moves the government to Seoul because we just took Tokyo this turn, so that makes sense, but they've moved it to a capital that is already surrounded. Axis raiders are disrupting convoys between the British Isles and Egypt, Australia, and New Zealand. U.S. develops heavy bombers level 2, I believe, or 3, actually. Not that that matters, because I don't have enough time to build any new heavy bombers. We do have one heavy bomber unit still surviving in Japan. So you can see that Tokyo fell, but Japan didn't surrender. Also, interestingly enough, we didn't get a morale bonus for taking their capital. I would assume the enemy morale falls when they lose their capital, but perhaps not. By the way, I know you resubbed at the beginning of the stream, History of the Great War. Thank you for that resub there, 6 months. All right, German heavy cruisers going after some of our destroyers off the Norwegian coast. You can see German battleships are operating in the channel. Maybe the oh god, there's 2 of them. Maybe the invasion of France is a little premature. What is this up here? German aircraft carrier moving on our battleship in a surface action? They must have been surprised. That must have been an accident. They didn't intend to do that. They must have stumbled upon us. There's no way that they intended to go gun to gun with battleships. Miller PA, thank you very much for the follow. Some German subs moving on the American fleet in the North Sea. Japanese bombers actually hitting the Chinese in the north of the northern Chinese front, rather than focusing all of their effort on Burma, which is interesting. I did move my anti-aircraft guns, so that will lessen the ability of me to defend these troops near Lido from enemy attack, but it seems like they're focusing most of their efforts in Burma, where that anti-aircraft gun wouldn't have been any help anyway. Japanese TAC air hitting some of our Marines here in northwest, or I guess the west center west portion of Germany, or Japan. Why do I keep screwing those up? Coastal guns attacking our motor torpedo boats, using up all their ammo on them. I'm happy about that. They can actually stockpile up to 3 artillery shells, so they can fire 3 times in a turn, but it's just a stockpile move. So the interesting thing there is that they... Uh-oh. Oh, don't retake Tokyo. They nearly destroyed that mechanized unit. It's still surviving at the moment, though, so we'll see. But yeah, they can use up to 3 shells in a turn, but they only draw 1 resupply per turn. So that's actually kind of interesting because oh shit. So German armor's trying to flank our position in India. So if they use up all their ammunition, then it takes them 3 turns to replenish that ammunition, which is good for us. Looks like the Germans are much more effective in India. Again, they must be drawing supply. That's the only real explanation. Damaging our air units there. You can see they've got a whole bunch of tanks. The Russian front is already over, Reener. Russia surrendered a couple turns ago. So these troops in Iran are likely from the Russian front. I haven't posted all the videos on my YouTube channel yet. So there's still a bit of a backlog at the moment. So 1 German battle. I think that's actually a battle cruiser. My prayer is to knock Japan out of the war. French partisans are disrupting supply. Communist partisans doing some stuff in Yan'an. Someone get Curtis LeMay on the line. We've already nuked Japan twice, Super Chacho, so Curtis LeMay has had his say, I would suppose. Alright, that's actually useful intelligence, picking up where some German heavy cruisers are in Norway. Some motor torpedo boats up there also. Destroyers in the North Sea, so that kind of rules out an immediate invasion. I don't get a unfortunately, the game doesn't let you control where you nuke. It's random events, which is strange to me, but... Alright, so the British get a new army and a mechanized unit this turn. Alright, let's reinforce the Australian Corps here. Let's get these American... Can these American units get in? Get the 11th Army. They're going to have to force march, which is going to drop their readiness and effectiveness. Pull these guys back. Alright, so the U.S. Army, the 11th U.S. Army is there. We'll also throw the heavy artillery ashore, so hopefully they can fire in defensive support of the troops near Karachi. They do have 1 shell. And then we'll bring Bradley's HQ in as well. We'll also go ahead and bring the 1st Garrison unit in. They'll come into Bombay. So we'll start flooding India with troops. We're going to need to throw some troops probably at Jodhpur here to block this rail line, because if they do flank, they could try and just drive directly east. Reinforce these guys here. Interestingly enough, it looks like these German units right here have no supply. So if I had anything to counterattack them with, I might be able to do some damage. The troops in front of Karachi have a little bit better supply, so they may lack the punch to take Karachi this turn. Okay. Meanwhile, the troops in Sicily, I think, are still hanging in there at 8 supply. Or 8 hit points or whatever. They'll keep blocking that road for now. 2nd U.S. Marine Division is also on the way. They'll clear out through Alexandria, and they'll probably get there or get very close next turn. We will rail the Assam Corps to the east of Jori here to block against German armor trying to break out to the east. They could drive north toward Quetta, but there's no rail line there for Multan, so I think this is the best place to put the Assam Corps. These 2 units will probably die next turn, these 2 air units, but obviously the hope is to, you know, to be effective in defense. 1 second, guys. What did I do with the real THG? Well, for a few reasons, I'm off work today, so I had a little bit of time this afternoon to stream at a normal hour. I guess that's the real answer for you. All right, so we've gotten a bunch more units into India. Karachi may fall this turn, but they're not going to break out east. It's jungle there anyway. There is a chance they could try to break toward the east of Jodhpur, but if these guys really are this low on supply, I don't think they can attack. I don't know where their headquarters units are, but I have to assume they have them here somewhere. Meanwhile, we're going to move these guys north to the oil fields here. Reinforce these jets in India. Can we reinforce these troops, or should we... Let's pull these guys back. Reinforce them. Pull these special forces troops back. All right. Now let's see what we can do against Seoul. So they already have their port is without supply. The troops in the city still have supply. We're going to try and bomb. Oh, shit. No, I didn't want to move them there. Whatever. I don't need the port for landing troops. I've got the rest of my troops are amphibious anyway. All right, let's pound Seoul itself. Did a little bit of damage to... I don't know if it was an immediate supply damage, but we did some damage to the city. Hopefully we're hurting their morale a little bit. Weather is favorable to the Japanese. Yeah, I can't get any strike troops there this turn. Like amphibious landing troops, that is. Okay. All right, let's try and get rid of their entrenchments with some attacks with our infantry here. They've lost some. Okay. We'll drop these cores in place here. Alright, so all of their entrenchments are gone. Their morale is low. Their supply will start to fall next turn, I think. The weather prevents me from bombing them. But we've at least made some progress here. Advancing on Harbin here with the Conga force. They can't get there. They're too weak. There's Japanese corps on their flank. But at least in theory, it may prevent these troops from moving south. Also, I don't think there's any way the Japanese can send enough troops to Korea to reinforce them right now anyway. All right, let's reinforce these guys. Or would it be better, actually, to pull these troops back than put these troops into position? We'll attack these Marines here just to kind of try to keep the pressure off. Have these guys dig in. Try and weaken these Japanese troops that are within range of our tactical air. Shattered. Alright, so we destroyed that unit. Okay. So we destroyed one of the units that was adjacent to Tokyo. Bombard the hell out of these guys. Just to weaken their effectiveness, make them less likely to succeed in an attack. Operate those guys to Busan. Reinforce these strategic bombs. Can they only reinforce one? Huh. Operate some fighters to the Korean Peninsula to defend against enemy counterattack there. I was going to send these guys up to Tokyo, but I guess we'll see. We'll see. The Japanese might manage a successful counterattack at Tokyo. Meanwhile, these troops here, this corps is going to head toward India to prevent it from falling. Same for these guys. Throw these guys on transports out in the Philippines, get them to Madras. The Americal Corps also is on the way out there, so we're flooding India with troops. Hopefully it'll arrive in time. I should bring one of these units in, so I'm going to bring this corps here. We'll launch an attack on that Japanese army and then land them. So this enemy army is going to be seriously weakened by these attacks from us. So my hope is that that prevents any attack out of this. They just keep it in place and reinforce it. Let's also bring these guys into China if we can. Nanning! So we took the puppet government of China capital here. That should be a national morale bonus for that landing. And then we took Tsingtao, which is another national morale location in China. So that should hurt Japan. Losing these two cities should hurt Japanese morale, because they're both national morale centers. Also, I presume it'll divert any reinforcements that might be moving toward Seoul. I'm going to launch air attacks against these anti-tank weapons, hopefully to drop their morale. Ever so slightly, in any event. Use these surface warships here to bombard these enemy aircraft. Their morale is already shot. Carrier aircraft wipe out this enemy naval air unit. So our units will be safe from enemy bombardments. Doesn't look like these air attacks are hurting the effectiveness or the readiness. Oh, I guess they do a little bit. That second attack there hurt a little bit. Alright, so meanwhile, what else? Do we have other ships out here somewhere? We do. Third heavy armored, so we'll race them west. Is that it? I think that's pretty much it for the Pacific. If we take a look at the reports, what's the Japanese national morale now? It looks like it fell slightly. They're at 20%. They bottomed out a couple of turns back. I think this was after the initial nuclear attacks. But losing 2 national morale centers should drop their morale by a little bit. Get them closer to surrender, and then when they lose Seoul, that'll also hurt them. Okay. I'm hopeful that these troops in Tokyo can hold on against Japanese counterattacks. One of these units, the way the AI has been working, they haven't really been swapping units out. They always reinforce the frontline unit, so I expect the 19th Army to not attack. The first anti-tanks may attack, but if they attack against infantry, they'll be much less effective. They may swap out for an enemy army, but hopefully our airborne troops are good enough to hold. Our supply situation's not great. Hopefully switching these headquarters units forward will help with the supply a bit. Doesn't look like it's getting any better. Shouldn't get any worse, but may wait till those ports come back online before it gets much better. Hey, Commissar Roach, how you doing? Bogged down, but we did take Tokyo, at least for the moment. Alright, so because of the weather, there's not a lot else I can do with my carriers here. I suppose we can hope that the weather gets better over Korea next turn. Hope is not a strategy, though, as they like to say. Okay, so moving west. We're still holding at Gibraltar. Hey, Tank, how you doing? Meanwhile, Norway fell, so that's good for us. Do we want to... Alright, so there's an enemy garrison at Trondheim, it looks like. What's the supply situation look like? So... Alright, we'll move our mechanized troops forward. Alright, I'm going to start pulling some of this armor out of Norway as well. But I'm going to try with a limited force to advance north. Again, I don't think the Germans can operate troops into Norway. They can operate within Norway, which is likely where this garrison came from, but I don't think they can operate into Norway. Meanwhile, I can't use these ports here to get my own troops out for a few more turns. German carrier up here, so let's sink that. Finishing off with our surface vessels. So that's nice. The enemy battleship I'm going to hit with carriers. Oh, the weather's bad. I can't. Both these units are shielded under cloud cover. I misread that. Try and use our air against him, I guess. All my air on the continent is under clouds. Well, I guess... Let's see. I guess we'll go after their heavy cruisers with my battleships. Why is there a 2-2? That doesn't seem right. Where do we knock him back to? Is this good weather or is it stormy? Clear, huh? Enemy interceptors. Looks like they're Romanian fighters, but they're not jets, so... Fuck. I didn't do any damage there? Maybe I can wipe out these land-based air. Got him. Sail our light cruiser up here and engage this enemy heavy. God damn it, you guys. You can't do any damage to him. What about this battleship? Can it get there? No, it can't. There is an enemy battleship in the channel, and it's under bad weather for them anyway. So let's see if we... Oh, multiple enemy battleships. That's good. My motor torpedo boats didn't really do anything there. Well. How far can these guys fly? Not very far, huh? Why would they suffer landing casualties in their own damn country? So, I do have one battleship down here. But probably not advisable to engage there. Those guys are in good weather. So, but they're going to get hit by enemy. Let's do this. This may be silly, but interesting, actually. I did do some damage. Mostly just taking damage from my own fighters. Why can my bombers not do anything against them? Holy shit, that was a disastrous strike. Let's reinforce that battleship. Well, actually, so let's see. Can we... Now we can do some damage. I'm just totally botching the reinforcing of all these naval units in the way that I did the battleship a few moves earlier than I should have. Oh well. And these guys can't... This tactical air can't go after them up there. They're also socked in. All right. Blimps to the rescue. All right, we'll pull... Keep these subs around. Okay. Did we even sink anything? I think we sank one enemy ship. Meanwhile, we've got some fleet carriers. I forgot about my, not fleet carriers. I've got some jeep carriers. But they can't get in range. So we'll... Oh, enemy sub. Good news is there's only one hit point left. So we sank it. Enemy sub down. All right, let's bring these jeep carriers in. Maybe we can use them versus the enemy warships next turn. Okay. Oh, they were ineffective because I had them set to the wrong mode. I wasn't even paying attention to that. Damn it. I probably would have sunk that battleship otherwise. I had them set to escort rather than naval attack. I already like you. Thank you very much for the follow. And thank you. The Soviet Union is dead, Tanko. They got rolled, I don't know, a while ago. Maybe, Commissar. Maybe. American motor torpedo boats making their way across the ocean. The war will turn on a massive swarm of American torpedo boats coming to sweep the waters clear with their torpedoes and their PT boats, led by John F. Kennedy. Mycopia 23, thank you very much for the follow. All right, let's place the new units. Britain has the 11th Army and the 1st Mechanized. I really want to flood the channel with... I think I need to wait a turn, though. I don't think there's any way we get to Paris, but, like, the British do have long-range transports now. The problem is the Germans have warships in the channel, which makes crossing kind of suicidal. They're down to 18 warships. We sank 2 this turn, I think. The morale peaked a little while ago. It's been slipping a little bit. You can see their income's just off the chart. They're taking pretty big losses, but their income is so huge at the moment. I think that about does it for this turn. I think we've done everything we can. Hopefully we've shored up the Tokyo situation a little bit. We destroyed one enemy unit, weakened another. The other 2 units directly adjacent to Tokyo aren't 100%. We've also surrounded Seoul. I think Seoul will fall next turn. Tsingtao and Nanning both fell to the Allies, which are both national morale objectives for Japan. Oh, one thing I did forget. China. Okay. It's got no supplies, so I'll have to pull them back a little bit. Okay, so the situation is not that much better, but it is what it is. I guess we can see if there's anything we feel like purchasing. We've got, what, 5 turns left? So what can we purchase that'll arrive in time? Infantry corps are really the only thing that might arrive and do something. Although for, like, the British, it's kind of like, what are their infantry corps going to do? I guess we can go back and buy some more motor torpedo boats. All I can afford is one of them. I wish the British could give their money to India. Burma, they can raise a Burma corps. It's weird that the British pay for Burma, but India pays for itself. But Canada is part of the British income, but not India. Like, it doesn't even make sense from, like, a Commonwealth perspective, because there's no there's no explanation for how it works. What about fighters? Can they do jets? Oh, they can't afford it. Well, they take too long anyway. Coastal guns for Malaya, that makes sense, for Singapore. Okay. What about the U.S.? Can't buy any more cores. We already have the max amount of those. Same for special forces. We can buy more armies, but they won't really... They'll arrive in the U.S., that's it. They won't be able to get anywhere in the 1 turn or so they have. Still, I guess we'll buy them just to buy them. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the next turn, how India holds out against this massive German armor. Also, if Japan can retake Tokyo, that will be bad. So let's hope they don't do that. I don't really have the strength on the island right now likely to retake it. I would need to pause and wait, and they would probably flood in before I could do much about it. But we'll see. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this turn of Strategic Command World War II, World at War, episode number 89 of our Let's Play series. We are hoping to finish off Japan here in the near future, but we'll see how things play out in our next turn. I hope you guys are enjoying the series. This was taken from a live stream from my Twitch channel from a couple of days ago, actually a couple of weeks ago now. But we're wrapping up the series. We're getting close to the end. Only a few turns left, and we'll see how things play out, if the Allies can pull up a last-second come-from-behind victory, or if the Axis powers will hold off and win the game. But that'll be for another time. Until next time, this is the Historical Gamer, as always, saying thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.